everyone, welcome back to Search It Up with Sienna and part 2 of my episode on Gilmore Girls. On today's episode, I'm joined by Gilmore Girls casting director Jami Rudofsky. The personalities on Gilmore Girls are so interesting, and the way the cast works together is incredible. Jami Rudofsky gives us a behind-the-scenes look on how the cast came together. In addition to Gilmore Girls, Jami's projects have also included The 26 Miles, The Assistants, More of Me, 8 Days a Week, Shades of Ray, 20 Questions, The Practice, Felicity, and many more. And now, without further ado, here's my interview with Jami Rudofsky.
So, how did you get started in casting, and what interested you in the field?
Well, so my path to casting was in junior high and high school, I was an actress. And then I went to UCLA for the theater program. And like halfway through UCLA, I kind of was like, I don't know that this is going to be what I'm supposed to do, but I love actors and I love acting and the process. And so I saw, I was watching movies that said casting, but I'm like, what do casting people do? I'm curious. So I called a bunch of casting directors and asked if anyone would be willing to take an intern so I could learn about it. And so in my junior year of college, I got an internship in casting. And like from that point on, I kind of knew that's what I was supposed to do. And the last final I had at UCLA, right after that, I had an interview to intern in a casting office. So I was like rushing through my final because I'm like, this final, whatever, I need to go be a casting person. And it was funny because I went to UCLA and I didn't even know how to get to Disney from UCLA. Like I had never had any reason to go to the Valley really when I was in college. So, and it was a Friday night, which is the worst traffic here. And I just remember it so clearly that I'm like, just trying to get to this interview. And I got the job as an intern, paid no money, but that's kind of what started me on my path as a casting director.
Yeah, well, you got to start somewhere. So
exactly.
And how did Gilmore Girls come your way? And at what point in production of the show did you come into the process?
Good question. So I had been working for some other casting directors, and I worked on a lot of cool projects with them. And then I kind of got to a point where I'm like, I think it's ready for me. I'm ready to like do my own thing.
Yeah.
And there was another, my casting part, well, she wasn't at the time, but Mara Casey was kind of in the same situation as I was. And we would always run into each other. And she's like, let's just, you want to partner and like see if we can get ourselves a job? I'm like, sure. So, and we had a friend who was an agent. And so she heard that this show was looking for casting directors. And this kind of leads into how we got involved because they had shot what was called a pilot presentation. It wasn't even a full pilot.
Yeah.
And so there were other casting directors who had worked on it. And then when it got picked up to series, they weren't going to continue for the series. So we met with Amy and Gavin Pallone, who was a producer at the time. And we were just kind of like, well, okay. And I thought the show was cute. I liked it. I was like, yeah, it's cute, sure. But it's funny because, and you can understand this as an actor, like we interviewed and then we left and we're like, I wonder what happened. Do you think we'll get a call? Are we going to like, how you get excited, like, but we haven't heard from them yet. We don't know what the feedback is. And then we got the call, I don't know, maybe that afternoon that we got the job. And so it was our first real casting job as full casting directors on a show. And then when it got picked up to series, Alex Borstein, who is now on Maisel, who won an Emmy, she was playing Suki.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you knew that.
I feel like I know, but I don't think, but I.
Yeah, she played Suki in the pilot presentation, but she was also on a show called Mad TV at the time. And so when the show got picked up, she couldn't get out of her contract for Mad TV. So we had to recast Suki. And then we also had to recast Dean. There were 2 other Deans before Jared Padalecki. So But yeah, so we started early before, just because they needed to cast those two characters before we really started doing the episodes. And so yeah, and so we did the whole series, all 7 years, and then that was over. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, I got a phone call. Hi, Gilmore Girls is coming back on Netflix. I'm like, what? It's like the best gift you could ever give. I mean, it was like the best gift, because it was like when we worked on the show, it was family. After 7 years, you become family with everyone. And so, like, the first table read back on the Netflix series, seeing everyone 10 years later and like what's happened in their lives. And like, I remember talking to Milo Ventimiglia, and he's like, oh my gosh, I just shot this really cool pilot that is so good with Mandy Moore, and I think it's going to go, which is This Is Us, right? And so yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Really. I love Jess's character too. So
me too. What team are you? Are you team Dean?
Probably team Jess, I'd say.
Me too. But don't tell the other guys.
I know.
Get in trouble.
Yes.
Wait, it's Dean, Jess, and
Logan.
I mean, he's the sweet. I love them all. I love all three of those guys.
Yeah, same. It's a very close call.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I understand, like you said, that the first role you cast was Dean. What were you looking for in someone that was different than the actor who was originally cast?
I don't even remember. But I'm not sure what like was missing from the first two guys, or I don't remember. But yeah, Dean. Well, technically, we were supposed to be casting Suki first, because that was like a series regular. Dean was just supposed to recur, I think. But a manager we were talking to was like, I have this guy in town, but he's leaving Wednesday. You have to see him. You have to see him. And we're like, we haven't even started auditioning this part yet. Like, we hadn't even had a real casting session with Amy yet. And he's like, no, you have to meet him. And we're like, please, before he leaves. And he was 17 at the time.
Oh, wow.
And he was out here from Texas, and we're like, okay, we'll meet him. And he came and auditioned for us, and we both kind of looked at each other like, he's really good. Is just something about him, right? It's hard to put your finger on, but there was something about him. And so, but he was leaving town, so we called Amy, and we're like, Amy, I know we're not supposed to be having a session yet, but we have this one guy we think you should meet. And we were nervous, because if she didn't respond to him, she'd be like, what are you guys doing? Like, you think this guy's good? And so she came over, and he auditioned, and Amy's like, we're like, okay, well, bye, Jared. Good luck. Have a safe trip. And Amy just looked at us, and she's like, well, that's not fair. And we're like, what? She goes, you can't just cast him on the first try. And she said, here's the thing. He's Dean. Like, he's Dean. But you're going to like, to make everyone happy, you better read more people. We got to have like back, whatever. But like, he's Dean. And, at the time when we started, it was over the summer, I think, and he was 17. And I think there would have been issues if he wasn't 18 yet. But as it turned out, he turned 18 in the couple months that we waited before production started. So it was perfect. It was meant to be.
Yeah, definitely. And what roles were already cast before you came on to the show?
So Rory, Lorelai, the parents, Yannick. It's so funny. I'm like, I can't even remember characters' names yet right now. But Yannick was cast. Liza Wiles' character.
Oh, yeah.
Rory and Lane was cast.
Yeah.
I think that's Luke was cast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the only ones that weren't of the series regulars that weren't cast yet were Suki and Dean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I also read that you brought Melissa McCarthy into the show as Suki, and she's amazing on the show. I love her character. Can you talk about how you found her?
Yeah, that was, I mean, I remember I had seen a short film she had done.
Mm-hmm.
She was really funny in that. And so we read like a ton of great actresses, like so many good ones. They were like, they're great. They're great. Oh my gosh. Yeah, great. And then I'm like, I remember her from this short. I think we should bring her in. And she came in and it was like, again, it was just like, there's no question it's her. Like, she just, her physical comedy, like, she just got it. She was the character.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's that thing. They just walk in the room and you're like, well,
Yeah.
that's it. We're done here. And it's funny because everyone's like, well, didn't you kind of discover Melissa McCarthy? I'm like, I always say, like, I didn't discover her. We were lucky enough to have the right role for her at the right
Yeah,
time.
right
She was
time.
going to be discovered. She was going to do fine no matter what,
Yeah.
but this just happened to be a great starting point for her as a
Uh-huh.
series.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. And what was the casting process like? I heard that you sometimes didn't get the scripts until last minute. Um,
yeah.
was it difficult in that way?
Sometimes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were times when we'd be waiting on a script and we don't know what's in the next episode, and Amy would call and she's like, we're gonna need something kind of like this, like a character, this guy kind of like this. And so what we ended up doing is auditioning people with material from previous scripts that were similar to the character that was coming.
Mm-hmm.
um it was also the ads always knew that the scripts were coming late, so they would try to schedule any new characters like as far down the line as they
Oh,
could
I
so that we had a
see.
couple extra days to
Yeah.
cast. And then we read so many people that we would just have people that were like, oh, this person, we like, maybe they're not right for this part, but remember them because we started to get what Amy liked and the kinds of characters she liked.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of actors that we would be like, oh, let's put them in like our stable of people to remember to bring in when a role comes up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we did it as well.
Mm-hmm. And did you put current cast members with actors auditioning to see like the chemistry?
We did do chemistry a couple times. Um, Not that often. I think it was for like the bigger roles.
Yeah.
I feel like we did do that, but I don't remember specifically for what. Yeah, I can't remember. But not very often. I mean, like Amy just knew.
Yeah.
She's brilliant, first of all, and her husband Dan, they're both awesome. But like they would hear the voice of someone or like and like they knew how to write to them. They're like, oh, I get this
Yeah.
person. I can write to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, mostly how it happened.
Yeah. And was there anyone who read for you that you wanted to cast that wasn't cast on the show?
Yeah. I laugh. I mean, I don't know. The story is out there somewhere, but um, before I was casting Gilmore Girls, I was casting an independent feature on my own
Oh.
that I wasn't getting paid for. And it was this really cool indie, and all these actors were coming in, like young actors who today are like
Yeah.
big stars. And this one guy came in, and he was late, and I was annoyed with him. And I was just like, oh, I feel like he's giving me attitude. But
Yeah.
then he read and he was amazing. And I was like, that's one of the best reads I've ever seen. Like, this kid is phenomenal. And then the movie ended up never going. We attached him to the movie, but it never ended up happening. And
Uh,
then we had this role come up on Gilmore Girls, and I was so excited for them to meet him. I'm like, you guys have to meet this actor. He is phenomenal. Like, I guarantee it, you're gonna love him, blah, blah, blah. And and he kind of he was definitely starting his ascent. But his manager really liked me. So she's like, just go in and read for Gilmore Girls. And it was not a great read. It just wasn't his cup of tea. It just wasn't meant for him. That was Ryan Gosling.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, we didn't get, that was the one I was like, I just wanted to cast Ryan in something, but then he became a really big fancy star.
There are so many amazing characters on the show. Like, so I love all of them, but I feel like some of my favorites would be I know Michelle is kind of like a small, not even a smaller role, but he's not like the main, but I just love his like attitude towards
Yeah,
everything.
he's awesome.
It's like very funny. I love Lorelai and Rory. I just love all the characters. But was there a role that you cast that was most fun or exciting or the most challenging to cast?
I think what was fun for me, and I adore her to this day, and she's like, we stay in touch, is Sally Struthers, as, oh gosh, what was her character's name?
I bet.
Babette. Oh my God. You know what's funny? Even in my phone, I have her number and I didn't put Sally Struthers. It comes up as Babette. But for us, I mean, for me, because I grew up watching her on like Archie Bunker, which was like
Yeah.
your, and I loved her on that. And so to like be able to kind of have like reinvent someone
Yeah.
or like have someone come on the show that like I loved watching and I know other people did, and then just kind of people who would watch and be like, oh my gosh, that's Sally Struthers.
Yeah.
That was for me, I really, really fun.
Yeah, so something that's funny is for my web series, when I like to do when I have like a favorite TV show that I connect to and I really want to do a lot of interviews for, I do like a multiple part episode. And you're actually the second person I've interviewed for Gilmore Girls, and the first one was Sally Struthers. And she
Oh,
was amazing. I was a great interview. She's so funny and just it was amazing to talk to her. The fast dialogue became a part of the show, or it's just something that's very distinct about the show. And was that part of the casting process? Like, did you look for people that could do that?
yeah, and this is a an interesting story. So the first season, it's the first season of the show. Not many people have seen it. So actors come into audition and they don't quite know what the tone is yet
Yeah.
or the pacing, right? And I remember the first season we had this one actress come in. She's a phenomenal actress, works all the time. And she did her audition and she left. And Amy's like, she's really good, but she didn't get the pacing. And, you know, we wanted to be like, but Amy, all you have to do is give her that adjustment and she can probably do it. But we didn't. We're just like, okay. And so then the next season, this other better role came up and we're like, let's bring her in again. Her name's Nancy Lenahan Charles. We called the agent ahead of time. And we're like, here's the deal. She has got to pick up on the cues. And it's, you know, the dialogue's so fast, but the thing is, it's not about like what we had to tell actors. Don't rush through the lines.
Yeah.
Just be sure the second someone finishes, you got to pick up the cue, pick up the cue, pick up the cue. It's like a game of like, you know, you're at the tennis net going back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
So, and once we did that, she booked the part. Like we told her, we would tell agents ahead of time. We're like, please tell your clients they've got to get the pacing, come in with the pacing, and
Well,
word perfect.
I recently interviewed Sally Struthers, like I said. Was the role of Babette written already for her when she came on, or was it written like for her?
It was not written for her specifically.
Uh-huh.
Um, it was just there was a big gag between her and Maury that they wanted Maury to be really, really tall, and they
Yeah.
wanted that bet really, really short. And so she came into audition with some other ladies, and she won our hearts.
Yeah. And what I love about the show is that the characters feel so real and relatable. And even when they get into tough situations, there's a sense that they'll like come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you love the most about the show?
What do I love the most about the show?
Yeah, what do you?
Well, there were so many things. The writing was just brilliant. I mean, just references to things that like some people would probably never get, but like
Yeah.
if you're it like the writing was great. I think what also was awesome is as funny as it could be and as fast and quick-witted,
Yeah.
there was also a lot of heart.
Yeah, definitely.
And so in those moments, like you can laugh and cry all in one episode. And I think I loved that about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And do you think there will ever be more episodes of to the Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard rumors, maybe, but also Amy and Dan are very busy right now with their other
Yeah.
show. So it's hard to say, but no one
Yeah.
else could write it. Like
Yeah,
they're the only
definitely.
people. It's not
Yeah.
like someone could take over. It's like,
Yeah.
so
I actually went to I don't know how maybe like a couple like I'd say 2 or 3 months ago. I went to this thing. It was through the New York Woman in the New York Woman in Film. Uh
yeah,
and it was like it was for the premiere of the new season of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and after there was a Q&A with Amy and Dan, and
yeah,
that was great to see them like 5 feet away from them and just hear them talk about even though I haven't really ever watched Marvelous Mrs. Maisel before, and I'd say that was the first time I watched it. It was very good. So I
yeah,
almost like I caught on right away, which is something I feel like they do very good with their writing as well.
yeah,
But it was, but yeah, they seemed like they were busy with that show too at the time.
yeah, yeah.
And can you talk about what you're working on now?
Sure. Well, so I haven't well, a little bit about me is that I was working in TV for a while after Gilmore Girls and everything, and
Yeah.
then I decided to become a mom, and so I worked on. I think the last show I worked on was called Masters of Sex, which was on Showtime, and then I took time off because I fostered a brand new baby who
Oh,
has become my son. And ever since, and I'm a single mom, so ever since that, um, I've I've done more smaller projects, a lot of independent
yeah.
features. I always am casting theater, and then the other thing was I have a new partner now, Christy Faison, and we're casting partners, but we also opened up an acting studio in to the like the beginning of 2019.
Yeah.
And so I'm also teaching a ton,
Oh, wow,
which
that's amazing.
yeah, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And it's from everyone asked me, but like, what do you teach a certain type of acting or style? And I'm like, no, I'm just teaching from what my experience of
Yeah.
being in a casting room for 20 some years of like I know what works and I know what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And being able to experience someone booking like even their first job.
Yeah.
One of our students, it's like there's nothing better than that. I love it. I love watching actors succeed and finding, or like doing a scene and then I give some feedback or change it and then they do it again. They're like, oh. And sometimes you just need other eyes,
Yeah.
But yeah, but we have a movie that's called Stars Fell on Alabama 2 again or something, and that's coming out I think at Christmas time.
Uh-huh.
And then we have another cool movie we're just starting called Rock Bottom. And what else? A bunch of like we do a lot of short films for students, like thesis films, because I always promised myself, someone helped me when I was at UCLA. And so I always told myself I'll help students if they ever need anything. So I've done a lot of student films. So we're starting a UCLA thesis film shortly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we kind of do it all.
That's great.
Yeah.
I watched a panel you moderated, and the casting director, one of the casting directors said everybody is playing some version of themselves. You have to you have to have a clear understanding of who you are. Do you find that to be true?
100%. You know, it's like you can't try to be who you're not.
Yeah.
Innately, you have something inside of you is who you are, and what makes you unique is bringing you to the character.
Yeah.
Not trying to like fit into the box of what you think the character's supposed to be. And you know, I was the other day in class, someone I gave sides to someone to work on, and she's like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, this is so not me. I just am really confused about it because I'm pretty sure I know what they want to see.
Yeah.
And I said, actually, you don't know. Stop worrying about what you think they want to see and do what you want to see.
Yeah.
Or how it makes you, you know, like, just stop worrying about that and do you.
Yeah.
Because that's what will make it different.
Uh-huh. Definitely.
So, yeah, you've got like, it's like Melissa McCarthy, right? She is who she is, and she brought that to the character of Suki, and it's like, there it is.
Yes,
You know?
definitely.
But it's her. It's 100%, you know, Melissa.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. And before we end this interview, one thing I like to do with a lot of my guests is I call it my 5 rapid fire questions. So basically I have these I ask you 5 questions and you say like the first thing that was relevant to the question that comes to your head, if that makes sense. Okay, so here we go. So the first question is, what is your favorite movie?
Waiting for Guffman.
Okay. Your favorite fruit?
Mango.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee, girl. Coffee all the way.
If you were on Gilmore Girls, what character would you be?
I think I'd be Gypsy.
Oh yeah, she's a good character. Someone or something that has inspired you as a kid.
Lily Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw her one woman show in New York on Broadway when I was 12.
Oh wow.
And I was astounded by her talent. And, you know, it was actually, yeah, I just was like, she's amazing. I want to do something like that. I want to be her. So yeah.
Yeah, that's my 5 questions. You did a very good
Wait,
job.
can I ask you questions?
Yeah.
Who inspires you?
Okay, I'd say probably there. So if someone I interviewed for my web series was Melissa Gilbert, who was she was Little House on the Prairie. She was
yeah. Okay, question real quick.
Okay.
What are you watching right now?
So I sadly finished Gilmore Girls, but I am rewatching, like, not really in order, honestly. I'm kind of rewatching like episodes, kind of like different episodes, like not in order.
It's always hard when they end.
Yeah.
It's like a good book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you read a good book and you're like, and then it ends and you're like, you feel kind of a loss.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, I need another new book. And you kind of like, well, how do I get something that good? And you read a few pages, you're like, because that's how I feel when like I binge a great series and then it's over and I'm like, now what?
Yeah, and I started Gilmore Girls, I'd say, I don't know, I'm trying to think like exactly. I'd say probably somewhere between, I want to say like February and March, probably more March, and then I ended in like early July, I'd say. So
Wow.
yes, but it was a great series to watch. And I watched some of it with my mom too, and that was yeah.
Good.
Well, it was so great talking to you. I had such a great time with you.
Thank you for reaching out. You're just awesome that you're doing this.
Thank you.
And, keep on keeping on.
Thank you. You
too.
Thank you so much, Jami. It was so much fun talking to you and learning about your work in casting and getting your insight on Gilmore Girls in general. Now, before we search it up, here's a quick fun fact. Did you know that Alexis Bledel hates coffee, but Rory, her character, loves it? Whenever you see Rory drinking coffee in the series, she's actually drinking soda. And now it's time to search it up. Let's see. Oh! Kenny Ortega directed a few episodes of Gilmore Girls. And he was also the director on High School Musical. Well, see you next time to talk about High School Musical.